Good morning, everyone, and welcome to day 28, Talking Horses here at Saratoga, presented by our friends at Saratoga Water. The man, the legend, Frank Miramati, joining me again 2 days in a row for you. It's nice to have you here. We should tell people, by the way, this is the one day that I'm going to allow people to take a quick break if you're on track from Talking Horses, because the autograph signing, the trainer autograph signing for the Lustgarten Foundation, looking for a cure for pancreatic cancer, in memory of our friend Dominic Galuccio. Annual event, a great opportunity to do something good, but also meet some of the trainers as well. It's over in the jockey's porch, the jockey's silks on the other side, the jock's room. Not a far walk, actually, from where we are, sort of by Gate B. So you're allowed to walk away a little from Talking Horses if you head on over to that event. It'll be going on to a little past 12:30, so head on over there.
Good cause.
All right today, Frank. Very good cause. Good to be here. This is, by the way, this is the fall meet at Saratoga.
I mean, seriously, with these clouds. Actually, I love weather like this as long as there's no rain accompanying it. Yes. This is actually perfect.
Not supposed to be
racetrack weather.
I agree. It's a nice day here, and it's supposed to be nice weather throughout the week, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. Anyway, enough about that silliness. You need to head over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code SPA200, and we'll match $200 of your initial deposit. We have middle pick 4, Frank. We got 11. So that means pick 4's races 2, 5, and 8. See how I did that? I'm really kind of proud of that. Race 4, the middle pick 5, which is a mandatory payout on 11 race cards. But you knew that. But don't forget those pick 4s, 2, 5, and 8. We also have the $1 million bonus late pick 5. You can laugh, but there was one person alive, one ticket. He played through Naira Bets, he or she, I should say, played through Naira Bets. Had they hit, the horse did not win, they would have collected an extra $1 million bonus. It's a free roll, and no reason, and an extra reason. You should be playing it through Naira Bets.
You should always play through Naira Bets, and Naira Bets is a very fan-friendly website as well. And especially for me, I love accessing the replays. It's very easy, very quick, and just a couple of
even the European
moves.
Replays. I know you probably haven't watched. There just haven't been any Europeans.
Are they right in there?
Absolutely.
I wish now I feel bad because I probably butchered some pronunciations, not listening to some of those European
Well, that's
replays.
assuming they pronounce them correctly overseas, Frank.
Right.
I don't think you've ever made a mistake. Don't blow it for me.
Okay.
I feel as though you're perfect.
I don't want to ruin it for you.
I do. You are.
It's never happened.
In my eyes, Frank, you are perfect. What else do we have?
We have a big day ahead of us.
The Taste New York Pavilion. Go over and
place.
meet Frank. Don't interrupt him while he's having the cocktails, but when he's done having his pre-calling cocktails, you can go over there. You got to be 21 or more. Gate A, the Berkshire Bank Family Zone, Taste New York Pavilion. It is a fun place. Head on over. Check it out after you've gone to the autograph signing for the Lustgarten Foundation. And what else?
Disclaimer, you must be 21 years in order to enjoy that alcohol.
That's why it's okay that you're over there drinking before you call the races. Between the races, too. So can you make it down and get over there and get back? Or you
quick.
You just bring a few up.
Right in a soda cup or,
exactly.
in a coffee thermos.
No one would ever do that.
You're good to go.
1 to 3 and 6 to 7 on FS2. And a drum roll, please. 3 to 6 on Fox, covering, of course, the Alabama, the Lake Placid. You know, we've got a couple guys coming on the show that were the heroes from the Lake Placid, the big hockey game in 1980. When I saw that there was a big event around the Lake Placid, about the big event, I thought it was the Grateful Dead concert in '83 at the Olympic Center, which you'll be shocked here I went to.
You did?
October 17th, 1983, a legendary Dead show. Great show in the arena.
It was
where
good?
It all happened.
You had a good time? You remember it?
Fantastic. A lot of my friends went to actually the hockey game.
Al Michaels.
Yeah.
What a legend. He was actually across the country yesterday at Del Mar, and he was talking about a horse that he had 30 years ago. I wonder if it was Barrack. He used to have a horse called Barraq way back when. But Al Michaels, a man I wish I had the privilege to meet, but your friend of mine, Jay Pridman, actually put him on the phone once, phone a friend.
Really?
And I got to talk to Al, and I told him that I genuinely enjoy his references to the over-unders late in games because he had one day, it was like 38-0, and the over-under was like 40.5. And the guy was coming to kick a field goal, and he said, "This game is not yet over," and many of you understand. I love that inflection.
They can talk about gambling now. Back then, they had to pretend that there was no gambling going on.
Correct.
Right?
There's no
because
such
nobody watched football because they were betting on the games before sports betting became legal, right?
No one was trying to get out of the trap on Monday Night Football, doubling up.
I never had a bookmaker. He was on Phila Street, by the way. He's not there anymore. So, anyhow, race number 1, 2-year-old maidens. Frank, we got we got too many horses in common early in the show. I'm not happy
By the way, I
about
didn't look at your picks.
I didn't suggest that.
No, but I'm just saying, I normally always do, by the way. If I'm going to get involved,
That's
I will
after
always,
you've gone over to the Taste of New York. You start looking at them.
I go there and I start looking. Same with Aragona's picks, and I purposely, and same with Mike Beer. I didn't give him a shout out yesterday. Mike Beer, Daily Racing Form, as solid as they come, which you're supposed to be when you're covering Saratoga races, but nevertheless, he is an excellent handicapper. So I would suggest always to the fans out there to pay attention to what Andy's doing as well as David and Mike, because sometimes you can, let's say the three of you like a horse, maybe that's the single moving forward and get you to, or to kind of shorten the ticket in some races so that it becomes affordable.
The three people whose opinions I value the most in the circuit are, without question, David Aragona, Mike Beer, and Nick Tamero.
There you go.
To me, they're the
You got to pay
people
attention to people that know what they're doing.
And because you want to listen to people that you respect when they don't agree with you, so you can try to get an idea why they don't agree with you. And frequently you may not agree, but sometimes you'll see that you missed something. Race number 1. So you talk about the 6, Act of Mutiny.
Oh, you picked the same horse. Nice. Well, he's a son of Quality
Road. I
Road.
don't like it when we stick the same horse.
The final decision to go with the 6 over the 1 as my top pick was that he's related to Catalina Cruiser, who's a horse that I always liked. He's a beautiful horse. He's currently
half to Catalina Cruiser.
Yeah, and the fact that Catalina Cruiser won his first few starts, but he was a beautiful individual and he was fast.
He was good.
The mare Seagull ran 15 times, was in the money 9 with 2 victories. Royal Flag also in this family.
Royal Flag with Chad Brown, very good filly mare from a couple of years ago.
You know what? As soon as you said Chad Brown, now I remember she was very small actually, and she was a small individual, but she had a big heart and she ran well, 3rd in her debut, then rattled off 3 straight wins. So a family that has had a lot of success, and that's why I went with this horse by Quality Road for Shug. I realized that Shug's numbers with first-time starters are not off the charts, but this horse should be very well meant, as is every horse at Saratoga. I love when people think horses aren't well meant coming to the spot.
Nobody wants to win up here. I just got a text from Gary Gullo asking if I could mention the autograph signing. Hey, Gary.
I just met Gary Gullo.
Gary's a lovely man who just sent me a very stupid text. So the number 3 Hunt Ball is a half 2.
Cody's Wish, as well as some other good ones in there as well.
That was like in Moneyball when he points endorsed as well,
Endorsed?
But Cody's Wish too.
Endorsed was really highly thought of at one time early in his career, and he has earned.
I believe Endorsed won his debut up here at 6.5 furlongs and beat that expensive big drama that Klarovich had that ended up sort of winning on the turf, but he just kind of a hard horse keeping the racetrack. I went on pedigrees. I put the middle market 3rd here. I have no information here. I didn't use particularly. I have the 7 4th. I didn't love the horse that ran. Special Element broke about a length and a half slow that day, but this is why you have to be careful looking at short comments. The rail was very good on July 15th, and it says 6 wide upper. He was on the rail for almost the entire race before angling out top of the stretch and then ducking back to the rail. So he spent about 80+% of the races on the good rail. And I don't know about World Fair. I know they paid his money for it. I think he worked well the 2-year-old sale. I'm curious to see what he does, the 5, because that was supposed to be a loaded 2-year-old race that came up very slow.
But the horse who won that race was Valentine Candy.
But he was slow.
It was over immediately, though.
I agree, but it just turned to be a slow race. And, I would like to see some horses run back from it because it looked too good a race on paper to be a slow race, but the figure came up slow.
It did. And but this is World Fair has siblings, 2 of whom won their debuts. So I think that that's something that's important. I thought this horse was, early on, this horse took more money than he ended up. He ended up 9-1, but he was like 5-6-1 most of the wagering. And I think that race was too bad to be believed. Hopefully he can improve a little bit. And when you get Steve Asmussen here with a gun runner for the Winchells, this is a horse you have to pay attention to.
We got to speed it up or we will run out of time. Sorry.
It's
race number 2. If people are wondering why Right to Vote, the MTO, didn't get into race number 2, it's because we can't run more than 10. And these trainers stayed in the second race. Unfortunately, now the 4 and 6, the 6 is out. And so we're down to 9 when we could have had 10. But that's what's happened now, unfortunately. So we'll have a field of 9 in this race. What'd you do?
I went to, my original pick for the turf, by the way, was number 2, Tom Collins. And I couldn't throw him out of the top 4, but I really felt he was strictly turf with a dam that has a very good record on the grass. So I went with my original second pick, Blast Furnace, hoping that this son of the Factor can handle the main track. Comes out of a very productive race where the 2nd, 5th, and 8th place horses all came back to score in their next races. It's a question mark because he has run both of his races. I'm thinking, Andy, that maybe he has speed and can. I mean, he obviously has speed, but maybe he has enough speed to be very much in control early, as long as no one else presses him hard, and then maybe he can get brave. But this is one of those races when they take him off the turf, it's very difficult to ascertain what's going to happen. The horse that I picked second is a horse that I feel is very interesting, and I respect the fact you put that horse on top.
Well, the thing about Skylar's Artemis is that it's not a substantial amount of turf pedigree. It's kind of as much, if not more, dirt on the dam side. And a flame away, he's a scat daddy, so there's turf there, but it also could be a dirt influence. So I was kind of interested in this horse. I'm kind of interested on the turf, and I was kind of interested in him. He stayed in on the dirt for John Terranova, so I left him on top. But I also want to have horses that at least ran in the dirt in their first couple of starts, and that includes the 5 Dancing Groom, who comes out of that race that we were talking about, the Valentine Candy race. At least in this case, he's not running against theoretically well-meant dirt horses. He's running an easier spot. And even leave a horse like Houghton in, who didn't take any money, but was running a race that was wired on a wet track. And it is a bit of more of a dirt pedigree with Houghton. So I'm going to say Catherine the Wise, the dam of that horse, was an extremely good horse for Chad Brown and owner Larry Goichman. So I left those in there. Tom Collins fourth. Did they have Tom Collins over at the New York Taste New York?
I'm not sure because I've never been there before, but I would imagine they would try to accommodate all customers.
I do have a friend who worked in horse racing who may or may not have imbibed a Tom Collins or two in his day. Anyhow,
by the way, Skylar's Artemis's mommy, Dancing in Her Dreams, won her first 2 starts, including the Pocahontas. So that was a talented individual.
Or John Ward and Jack Oxley.
Actually, you know what's so funny about that? I remember that when there's certain things that trigger memories. I remember that Mark Johnson called that horse because of the way he used to say her name.
Yeah,
and,
that would make sense.
She was a beautiful filly and very talented. So if she passed it on, you're going to get value just based on the fact that, as you mentioned earlier, sometimes when you see these morning lines for the turf races, people
you
don't
just have to ignore. They
don't make the adjustment.
You have to imagine that David Aragona would have made a very different morning line than he made it for dirt. Correct. I don't ask him to do more work because the guy does enough work, but it is, it's like we handicap these races for turf and dirt, or I do, 2 morning lines, but there's nothing you can really do about it. Race number 3, we agree in race 3, but I want to start by talking about Shoot Out the Lights, who was a heavy favorite last time for Wesley Ward up at Belmont, and I thought ran a credible race, but I just not really convinced that this horse is really that good. How good was this field that she's running against?
Here it is. Well, it's a race that she's now seen a couple of months off from, and I really wasn't familiar with everyone who was in that event, but I know that she had a length lead and blew it, and so that's something that's never going to be very good news because that was the easiest lead of all time.
It was also a very slow pace in this race, and I thought it was an okay effort, but I just thought, while she's fast early, that there might be horses that are just better in this race. So we've both picked Georgie Spirit. Why did you like her?
I like Georgie Spirit. Well, first of all, she's getting Lasix for the first time off of this layoff. And the second place finisher came back and won an A other than. Fifth place finisher came out of there to win pretty well. And I just thought that, you're also getting a jockey change to Flavien Prat. And so that is just something you have to pay attention to, particularly on the grass, but any surface. And I just think that this horse is well spotted. I'm a big fan of Jorge Abreu. Never met him, but I have followed him for a long time. And he just wins at a high percentage. And you will be rewarded if you get a horse such as this in the 9-2 category. Even if the horse gets bet a little bit, you're going to get a fair price because it's a contentious race. And I think this horse figures she's definitely one of the ones in this spot.
Should I make sure that Jorge makes a trip up to the
analysis
booth
to say hello
to meet you?
I've
very
cashed
nice
some tickets with him.
Very nice man. If you're listening, TT, head on up to the booth.
Was a Chad Brown assistant sometimes. Is this accurate?
But yes, he was. But he's done very, very well.
Well, I'm just saying, like when he left Chad Brown, and then he'd get other horses.
He left Chad Brown. Chad wished him well, but was sorry he left.
But the point is, when he gets horses, he's going to be under the radar as opposed to a horse that says Chad Brown next to it.
The thing I like about this horse is the horse was wide last time against a gold rail, so I think ran a lot better than it looks and finished the photo with Sweet Lou's Got Aces, a horse for Ray Handles. Okay, won at a mile, I think, the next time out, but is an efficient sprinter as well. And I thought she was a little against the track. And, no knock on Katie Davis, who's been riding really well. She's not Flavien Prat, so it's hard not to notice that change. Other horse to talk about, I thought My Sweet Affair for George Weaver. I don't know exactly what happened in the Galway last week, but she ran well enough 2 races back that I thought she was pretty dangerous in here. You had her third.
I put her in certainly to
Yeah,
rate a
we're,
look.
we're close in our picks.
I put Shoot Out the Lights in there, but I wasn't in love with her, which is why I didn't pick her out. And then the 7 horse,
That's
we
the
have
funny
same.
horse, the 7 horse. I want to talk about Don't Look Back at All because she started out on the turf. She ran fairly well, and then I guess Christophe went over and ran at Parks, maybe to try and see what she could do in the dirt, but also because she's a PA bred, and it was just an opportunity to get
Scoop up some money
to
for the
make
owner.
some money into a purse, right? There was for PA breds. I think that was more about that. But she's run well on the turf. This horse. She's against the track on November 5th. I thought she was kind of dangerous in here.
Anytime you win at first asking, particularly at Saratoga, you must be respected going down the line, no matter what.
Peace and Justice, I want to say, was trained by the sire. Believe John Sheriff's trained him.
Peace and Justice.
I think John Sheriff's trained that.
I don't remember.
Race number 4. Probably wrong. Race number 4.
Wow, we end up with the same
We
horse.
have the same horse, and I'm going to show Handsome Cat running third, 3 races back, and you will tell us why you like this little devil.
I like Handsome Cat, not based upon, I mean, this was obviously a good effort you're going to see, but I remember this horse very well in Southern California, and he could compete. Look, you don't see it here because you only see a couple of his California races, but I actually texted Steve Miotti 2 days ago when I saw the entries, and I said, your old friend Handsome Cat is available for $16,000 US. The winner came back to win a $40,000 claimer out of that event, and the third place finisher won the A other than. So he exits a productive race, although...
Well, the winner and third beat him in his last start.
Right, but the thing about it is, when a horse comes out of a productive race and they were 9th, it really doesn't have as much oomph as if they were closer.
Depends
I'm not going to use that angle too
Depends what they did
strongly.
in the race.
I just think that if he's able to come back to the thing that, like in California, this horse ran very well out there.
Ran well 3 and 4 back.
And, right, those races there, if he could duplicate that, he's well spotted.
And there is pace in this race as well, Frank. I think it's important to note that he's a closer with a lot of pace in here, and David Jacobson's barn's been kind of heating up here the last week or so.
That you had one of those big winners. That was a nice price. But the thing about this horse, he has this stalking ability, and he's a good-looking horse, like for this kind of level,
Well, he's
for
handsome.
$16,000. Well, they named him correctly. But he's got that look, and if he's like about 3 lengths off them going into the far turn, he has a chance to swing out and mow them all down.
None of us picked Ensign Par. I like him. I think he gets pace to run at. He ran against better horses.
Good.
I'm going to take a shot. I thought his price would be fair. Ensign Parker is going to take some money, though David has him 6-1 off a win. I just think it's a very, very different ball game, and you know he's going to try to go. But with Ragtime Blues in here, and the 7 Poppies Pride, and even Air Show, it just feels at some level this is a much tougher pace scenario. This was a paceless race. He stalked a little early, but he had a huge tactical advantage over this field.
And that's the thing you have to take into consideration. When horses just march home, it's important to put everything into proper perspective. And that was a soft group, and he did take care of. And I do like when horses come to a track for the first time and win, regardless of the level, because at least you know now he knows the surroundings, and he was able to be successful here. But I thought a long shot in here, and so did you, number 3, Flamingo. In fact, here's the thing I was thinking to myself when I made Handsome Cat, because Handsome Cat, to me, if he gives his best, he could beat this field easily, but if he doesn't, he might be nowhere. Flamingo
He's
Hawk,
not exactly reliable off a 4.5-month layoff.
Right.
4.5-month layoff horses are never reliable.
and the question mark dropping in, but I just think that question mark.
That's fine.
It's an
But he
aggressive-
hasn't. We picked him, but he could run last. I mean, it's not.
Correct.
We certainly have bet our share of
and the
horses
horse
who ran
next
last
to
in our
him,
lives.
look, Rob Atras, this is very uncharacteristic for his stat
Look
numbers.
is my word, okay? You're not allowed to steal look
No
from me.
look
You've
either?
stole look from me.
Look,
No,
I
no.
get it. No, you have to always say, you usually started with look. I like Rob Atras.
You don't know, but all Frank really does is make fun of me endlessly, which I appreciate. Anyway.
We prefer to do that on the telephone as opposed to on live television. Number
No,
3,
I have no problem with doing it on live TV.
Flamingo Hawk. I know I'm not allowed to go down memory lane, but Flamingo Hawk, let's give a shout out to Hialeah Park, where this whole career started a long time ago. But Flamingo Hawk, here's the
If
thing.
you want to blame
Here's the
someone,
thing.
blame
Here,
Hialeah.
I'll give you John Brunetti, God rest his soul. He gave me a shot. Flamingo Hawk is taking a dramatic drop in class. He's been very disappointing. But Rob Atras, those numbers are going to start to even themselves out as time goes on.
I don't know. He's been on a bad run for a while, Frank.
Well, it could
I'm
change
just-
today.
It can always change. His numbers off of big drops are not great. To be honest with you, his numbers are not good dropping in half. I was just looking for horses I thought could make a run. I thought they'd be moving early, so I was kind of looking at closers and Scott Lake's horse as well, and Sky We Trust. That horse could pick up pieces in here.
Yes.
Anybody else you want to talk about?
Not really. Poppy's Pride I just put in as just, he could be there or thereabouts. He'll be in the thick of it early.
Can Air Show get his act back together? Dropping down, he was in over his head and kind of a no-chance trip last time.
Rudy has come out with guns blazing.
Rudy, unlike last year, has been having a very, very good last year behind him. Race number 5, speaking of Rudy, in race number 5, we'll take a look at Dufusky Island 2 races back when he ran a huge figure, and I'm not going to condemn him for his last race.
A terrible stumble at the gate.
Well, he stumbled really badly at the start, right, and I'm not sure he also wasn't facing some better horses in that race.
Oh.
He was in such good form. I understand he's part of an entry. And frankly, Lafitte's Fleet is not impossible in this race. Well, they're a good tandem because one has speed and the other one's a closer. So if the speed falls apart in here, the other one could easily be good enough to win as a closer, right?
No question. That's a very strong entry. And when you talk about company lines, about Dufusky Island, he met Accretive in his comeback. And Accretive was a horse that was lugging in or would have beaten Gunite in the Amsterdam last year. Very, very talented horse. And I thought from visually when Accretive came back last time, like he was in a tough spot between horses.
He looked like he was going to run last top in the
stretch.
And
then he just drew off.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to seeing him.
I don't know if they went slowly down the lane, but I thought he was going to be last.
He's back, and that's the important thing about him. I'm looking forward to his next start.
About Jimmy Durante.
Pardon me?
You have to have an experience with Jimmy Durante to share with the people. I mean,
nothing at all.
You could imitate him. Can you do you have a Jimmy Durante in your?
Yeah, I'm not going to sing that song here because we're on the East Coast, so therefore we.
Oh, you got to sing. You can't once you pass across the Rockies or the Mississippi.
Yeah,
you can't.
It's just a thing. This horse is on a winning streak, and he went from Los Al to Penn National. I think
to Saratoga. Even a trip.
Even Formulator wouldn't be able to find a scenario where those 3 came in succession.
What?
I have to give a shout out to DRF Formulator. You've been telling me about it for years. It's so good, but you need a lot of time.
You listed Dave Rodman, but not your buddy Andy Serling.
Because you didn't talk to me directly.
Because he's an announcer, and you're that baloney. I've talked about Formulator 100 times. You're just.
See, if you've ever been to internal.drf.com, which is Inside Baseball, what you get with Formulator, it's worth the price. Pay for it.
Formulator has changed our lives. Abaddon, last time out, broke the maiden. Todd Pletcher's numbers. He has some good numbers overall at Naira off of maiden wins with 3-year-olds in dirt sprints. Saratoga, not as much, but his Naira numbers are good. This is a big ask for him because he's got to deal with the speed of a horse like Dufusky Island and then hold off horses. I actually think this horse is okay. Just thought this was a tough spot for him.
Yes, he was, here he is in the 3 Diamonds colors. And when this race was going off, it looked, turning for home, that there would be some potential challenges to him, but he just kept going. So I like the fact that he put it together and was able to make amends to those that he punished at 2-5 at Monmouth Park in his previous start. So good for him, but you're saying, here's the thing.
It's a tough spot.
These are experienced horses, salty horses, and he better be good to beat them.
Tough spot. Race number 6. We'll break after 6, if that's okay with you guys. Race number 6 is perfect. We are off the turf in race number 6. Where'd you go?
This was a very difficult race.
Was this I don't feel like changing my turf picks?
Yes, and you got me yesterday with that.
Dude.
Hold on. Let's give you credit where credit is due. Yesterday, you told me that horse should have been 5-1. That was the George Weaver horse that stayed on the turf.
I was wrong. He should have been 55-1.
You hated that horse. But I tell people all the time, in my opinion, you have to see in life and in everything, but in handicapping too, strengths. When it comes to bad favorites, you're excellent at that. And when it comes to races switching surfaces. So
anyway.
It's true.
But I like this
horse.
I hated
the turf
that, too.
I was sick watching that horse.
Why did you? I know you were.
I
relished it.
As much as I enjoyed Krupe going by the
I know you. I could feel it in your call.
I was thinking of
as you should have.
When Krupe came right to that option.
He's so competitive. We're actually great friends.
By the way,
he's so insane.
We are good friends, absolutely. But I will say this, because I am very competitive. Both of us, and the way you rank the picks.
But Frank, I can't race calls. You've already got race calling on.
Doesn't matter. I'm just filling in for our girl Sarah, and I hope she's doing better and gets back ASAP. But quick thing, yesterday, we both had a positive ROI on our top pick.
Who cares about that stuff?
I care a lot because in the last
doesn't
race,
matter.
when I saw
Burning
the 11
Honor,
coming,
you got to defend him on the air now.
Burning Honor, here it is. Let's go back. Early on in his life, they started him on the dirt.
He was awful.
He was awful.
They ran him back in the dirt. He was awful.
He was awful.
They ran him back in the dirt. He was awful.
Yeah. This is not a great field, and I decided to stick with
He likes him for her incredible awfulness. Now,
the real
7 Jayla.
Let the real handicapping
I'm
begin.
very glad that Janet Fucci left Jayla in.
I had her in here, and I last second took her out.
Leaving the 7 and 16 out of your top 4 picks. I'm going to give you a demerit for that one. Okay, I'm going to little demerit. I mean, this horse was scratched the other day on off the turf race. Well, luckily Jenna's staying in this time, and I think she and the 16 are the ones to beat. They have some dirt form going on. I'm going to take those 2 horses. But leadership ability probably ends up as a real favorite here. And the only thing preventing that horse being a giant favorite is that Irad's not riding. And I don't know. The horse was outside. The rail may have been good last time. Is a Lauban staying in the dirt, but 175,000, coming off a long layoff, running for 40. Doesn't this feel like a bad favorite? I've got him second, but her second. But
yeah, she started dropping and then when it went to the main track, it was something that this is a tough race.
Well, I'm going to mostly use the 7 and 16, and the more I think about it, try to beat the 9.
I can't live with the 16. I'll tell you that right now. Anyone coming out of a Lone Star,
well, you've got the 14
15,
second. Who's faster, the 7 or the 14 or 16?
I think the 14 will beat the 16.
Okay, what can we bet on that? Here's the bet.
I don't like the 16
I want you to
at all.
decide what I have to do if you win, but I would like you to call one race up here.
It's not happening.
Not happening?
No matter what you're going to say, it's not happening.
Really?
You should come call a race.
No, I want you to. You're not going to do it in somebody's voice? Can't we come with somebody?
This is Saratoga.
There's nobody we like. Frank and I don't like anybody.
But Flutie Flakes, well bet in both starts.
We'll never beat the 16 in a million years.
Never?
Never. Not a chance. Ask Jeremiah Engar. He trains them both.
Okay. Well, we'll find out. Let them. We'll see you at the 8th ball.
We'll take a break, but we'll be back.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
We're back, Frank and Andy, and do want to give people another reminder. You have until about 12:30, a little bit longer after that. Autograph signing with the trainers taking place on the other side of the Jocks room and the Jocks Silks porch. And, of course, that's for Lustgarten Foundation, Research for Pancreatic Cancer. We lost our good friend Dominic Lucio a number of years, but we remember him all the time, but we particularly remember him every year at Saratoga, an opportunity to meet a lot of the trainers and also give a few dollars to a very worthy cause in memory of a person who was a big part of New York racing for many, many years in a very good way.
Very sad.
So let's take a look at the Lake George, the first of the 2 races, this being the second one.
How about the Lake Placid?
This is the Lake George. This is a replay of the Lake George.
I deserve that.
You
I deserve that.
You deserve that. Frank.
That was.
Anyhow,
yeah.
I prefer tax implications to surge capacity because, in my opinion, there wasn't a lot of pace in there, and tax implications had to sit a little closer, and still ran a race. And surge capacity ran very well. Might have got a slightly better trip. But I like tax implications, who was against it 2 back when moving early and wide there and unlucky to lose there. And I think she's been a little unlucky, and she's a hard trier, and I think she can reverse things on her stablemate, Surge Capacity, today. You've taken neither of these horses.
And let me just say this as the track announcer here. I'm not really a big fan of trying to pick the winners of graded stakes because I don't care who wins. I don't mind the other races, but for some reason, whenever I'm picking the big stakes races, I'm like, I don't really care.
You care who wins?
I don't care.
You mean you don't want to have a bias when you're
I
calling
don't have
the
a
race?
bias, but
Yeah,
I really normally, like a lot of days I come into work, no joke, people say, who do you like today? I say, I don't even know who's running, because I like to just be fresh and obviously know the important information, but not really dig in.
Okay.
That said, I loved Surge Capacity.
You have no 4s, and you have the 7. You don't like this race at all, the Lake George. That's
I
fine.
like
I'm
surge,
just-
for the record, I did like Surge Capacity last time we weren't doing Talking Horses. I love when Chad sends horses to Monmouth Park because I got the privilege of calling many of them, and including Tax Implications.
She's a half-sister to Ways and Means, the brilliant 2-year-old filly we saw a couple weeks ago.
They're never beating Ways and Means. I can tell you that right now.
They probably will. Everybody gets beaten now eventually in this game.
I love her. She's gorgeous.
So you're against them. We'll get to your horse, the third replay. I want to look at the other two Chad Brown horses, Prerequisite and Esprit. My biggest opinion in this race, I do not like, you have Prerequisite second. I don't like this horse at all. I will be shocked if she wins.
Really?
She has had 2 straight gold rail trips in races where she had the absolute run of the race at Belmont. And now, with the presence of Heavenly Sunday and Gloria's Princess, she's not making the lead. And I still don't think she's as good as horses like Surge Capacity, Tax Implications. And as far as the Spray, I think she's going to be better going shorter. And she was wide against the gold rail, 2.5 to 3 wide, 3 to 4 wide in the second turn against the gold rail. And she still was running at the end. So I actually think that Esprit is the right one out of that race. And for me, I picked Esprit second under Tax Implications and over Surge Capacity.
In this race, we just showed the stretch run.
We just did.
When they were running down the backstretch, Esprit looked like an absolute cinch.
She was 3 wide and against the
but
gold
she was
rail.
just traveling beautifully.
Because she was outside stalking.
I know, and now she's shortening up, so I think she will have a little more tightness to her. But at the same time, I thought Prerequisite kept running hard. I gave her a slight nod, but Esprit would not surprise me in any way, shape, or form because down the backstretch and watching that race, and I watched it for the first time, I didn't see that live. Because
what about Gloria's Princess? We'll take a look at her race last time out. I am a fan, as she is related to one of my favorite horses, Harvey's Lil Goyle.
Right, and that was a Bill Mott horse.
It was.
In fact, that was a horse who took serious action. Now that you mentioned it, I didn't even recognize.
I made
that
two
was...
big scores with her, once at Churchill, once at Keeneland. Anyway, you've picked her on top. Let us have it.
Well, here she is over at Ellis Park last time out. Back-to-back wins. She ran second in her debut, showing that she's got some quality. Then she came back, and you don't win turf races in full fields by 6 lengths too often. And she did that in her second career start to prove that she's talented, making her 3 to 5 in the first level condition.
But she has to deal with the speed of the one, Heavenly Sunday. Doesn't that worry you a little bit?
Well, I just think that in the end, what happens in races like this is, even though on paper it may look like this is going to happen and that's going to happen.
Well, the one has to go.
Right, well, she's going to go, but...
I'm not saying it's going to be a blistering pace, but she's not going to be able to control in the front end.
But I
bet her in her debut, by the way, at 6 to 1. So I bet her once.
Did you come back at least at Churchill?
not at 3 to 2, no.
Yeah. Only thing better than 3 to 2 is 7 to 5.
Friend of mine had a very good suggestion.
Okay.
If the 16 beats the 14 in that race, you should call them coming back in the winner's circle as D. Wayne Lucas.
I just don't
you
do
did
that.
the best D. Wayne
I appreciate
on Card Talk
I believe
I've ever heard.
There will never be a better
I
D.
didn't
Wayne
even think it was
impression.
you. I thought it was D. Wayne. It was
I
utterly
learned that
brilliant.
many years ago.
All right. Well, I am a fan of Gloria's Princess from the pedigree. I didn't know if I thought it was a big test for her. You know what horse I don't think is ridiculously impossible? I don't think it should be ignored that Soviet Excess actually ran pretty well in the Wild Applause. That was a quick pace that collapsed, and she was right behind the pace, and she actually hung around reasonably well at the end. I don't know if she's as good as these, but I thought her last race actually wasn't that bad, and she wasn't impossible here. It's a fun race. I mean, Juniper Marshmallow looks a little tough to make, but she is coming off a stakes win. Everyone else in here has credentials to be effective in here. There are no slouches in this race.
It's a good race. By the way, the sister of this Gloria's Princess, I remember one day she was 10 to 1 somewhere on the morning line and got hammered too much and then didn't win that day. But that horse was talented.
She won the stake at Churchill with Martine Garcia and paid $22, beat a Grand Motion horse. It was
We might have done a Talking Horses
wonderful.
involving her at some point.
No, I don't think she really ran here. Well, maybe. Nah, she ran in the winter.
I just remember her.
Anyway, race number 8. I'm not sure why Movie Moxie scratched. She beat Gerrymander, who's going to be one of the favorites in her last start, but she's not running. Anyway, nostalgic over Gerrymander. Gerrymander's tiresome because she keeps losing races.
What's her problem? She's got some issue. She's awkward.
I don't think so. But what's her problem? This pace heated up remarkably. Now, I know the paces heat up in the second quarter in the mile races, but they went 22-2, and it's accurate. And that's what happened to her. And this race completely fell apart in the end, which enabled the favorite, 63 Caliber, to win, and Nostalgic to make her run at the end. the reality is there's really no pace in here again. Now, maybe somebody heats it up again. But at some point in her career, they're not going to go like wild in the second quarter, and she's actually going to be able to win. I think she's the worst to beat. I'm just sick and tired of taking her at short prices and seeing her lose. My problem with Nostalgic, who I do understand why people like her, and I think she'll be the favorite in here, as it turns out. When in her career has she ever run 2 good races back-to-back?
In March of April, she won an optional claimer, and then she won the Gazelle.
But, I mean, she ran mediocrely at Gulfstream, and then she improved the Gazelle, and then she stunk in the Oaks. She ran okay, and not really. She just doesn't, like, she's got some big figures, and she never seems to back them up.
I think that she doesn't back it up when she's not racing with Lasix. And she is racing with Lasix again today.
Okay.
Her Lasix races have been good.
Well, she has a non-Lasix. She has 2 non-Lasix races with big figures.
Right.
Well, so I mean, I hear you, but I can't agree with it.
But here's the thing also.
I know. Frank, you don't like her that much either. You have her second, I have her third.
I picked her second, but I picked her because I picked a long shot to try to shake things up a little bit.
Tell us about your long shot.
Well, first let me just tell you about Nostalgic. The reason I believe she has more ups, and what I meant by gerrymander at the beginning is, gerrymander kind of teases her backers.
Right, she has not run back to that Mother
really
Goose.
Well.
She has been a disappointment.
I didn't want to get a bee sting to the face.
Oh, she's a massive disappointment. I agree.
But she always has that look like it's going to win.
I know. No, I agree. I agree.
Happen.
And it gets tiresome. That's why I didn't pick her on top. But she's still run okay in those races. But she is a little tiresome.
But Nostalgic has more upside, despite the fact that that race definitely fell apart. I agree 100%. I mean, the Amos horse who won that race was finished.
I don't think Nostalgic ran as well as Gerrymander. Now, maybe they're not going to win. I don't think Nostalgic is not exactly. She and Gerrymander are not dissimilar in some ways, right?
Right, but she has more of a right to improve off that effort based on the fact it was her first start since November of last year.
We don't want to run out of time, so tell us about Royal Take Charge, and I'll quickly tell people about my pick.
All right, well, here's the thing. Royal Take Charge is a horse that got off to a great start in her career, won first time out at 7.5 furlongs at Churchill. That's not easy to accomplish, and did so battling the whole way. Came back, beat winners, which is always impressive, and then almost went right through the next condition.
She lost at 3-5.
I know, but then she made amends at 8-5 in her next start. Last time at Delaware, she was running in a prestigious race and got absolutely smoked. Don't hold it against her. If you threw that race out, if that race did not exist in your past performance lines and you drew a line right through it, you'd have a horse who was never higher than 7-2 in a spot where you don't have a bunch of killers and you're getting a good price and you're getting a trainer, Al Stahl, that when he comes to Saratoga, he does very well over the years.
Okay, she'll be a price.
Yeah.
My problem with her, she's never run a race that's even remotely fast enough. That's my problem.
When you say fast enough, do you mean based on buyer speed figures?
Well, yeah, but not just buyer speed figures. Timeform US speed figures have her very slow. In fact, Timeform US has her slower than the buyer figures do.
Yeah. That's alarming.
What?
That's alarming.
Yeah. That's my concern with her. I mean, I gave her a long look because obviously I'm looking for somebody else as well, and that's the whole point here, and I think you did that, and I did it with different horses. I don't trust Misty Vale. She was bad in the Molly Pitcher. I mean, she was awful in the Molly Pitcher. Now, she actually didn't run that badly in the Lady Jacqueline at Thistledown because that was a tough field, a fast race, and she did not get one of the better rides you'll ever see. She was wide on both turns. She made a ridiculous middle move out in the middle of the racetrack, and she actually ran okay in that race. And I think if you throw her last race, you can make a case for her in this race based on 2 and 3 back. Now, obviously, her last was a disaster. She was almost 50-1 in that race.
That's what I was going to say.
And so I'm going to take a shot. She's going to be a price in here. I wanted an alternative, and her second and third races back, I thought were fast enough to win here. And that's it.
There's nothing
Alabama.
wrong with that. And you get the services.
This is one of the best Alabamas as far as how competitive it is. I mean, we have seen many Alabamas with stars, real great stars, great horses. You know that when Joel Rosario won in Blind Luck, it was, I believe, his first time ever in Saratoga. I love Blind Luck. He was such a cool horse. Anyway, this is a super competitive race, and we'll start out with the horse you have on top, Wet Paint. And I'll let you talk about why you picked her, and then I'll say why I picked against her, though she is, in some ways, the horse to beat.
Before I pick Wet Paint, I will tell you that this is the Alabama presented by Keeneland Sales, and they have partnered with the New York Racing Association in a big way this year, and we appreciate that very much. And Wet Paint is just, she's honest. She's consistent. And she won last time when she basically had very little chance coming to the top of the stretch because Sacred Wish had just given this field the slip. It was a gigantic performance.
This was her best performance. I agree. This is the one time that she significantly overcame some sort of disadvantage. I have no argument with that, Frank.
She did at Oakland, too, once. She was
Yeah.
coming through on the inside when she
I know.
looked beaten.
I
The
don't
thing
know.
about
She never
Wet
looked
Paint
beaten
is
with me, but-
she's very honest, and I can understand from a handicapping and from a value-seeking standpoint trying to beat her because, like everyone, she's trying 1.25 miles now, and
That's not
things.
I'm trying to beat her because she's not that good.
See, that to me is not a fair assessment of her.
No, she's as good as anybody in this race.
Yeah.
Well, she got beaten by Gambling Girl when they ran the Oaks. And Gambling Girl ran a better race than she did.
And Gambling Girl looked incredible on the racetrack last time.
Well, we'll get
prior
to her.
the coaching
We'll-
club American Oaks.
Right, right.
She really did. I
Why,
was
why did
expecting
I
a big
pick
effort.
Gambling Girl in here? Well, because Gambling Girl is no Royal Delta, and I'm not trying to compare her to it. But
No
Royal
kidding.
Delta used the CCA Oaks as a prep to win the Alabama. And while I'm sure that Todd Pletcher and Mike Rapoli would have loved to win the CCA Oaks, coming off a long layoff, I have a feeling they didn't think they had the right filly. And the other thing is, it was a paceless race, and she was closer to the pace than she wants to be to make her run. The difference between that race and this race is that Chocolate Gelato is in here. I don't think that those two guys got together and said, we really like the Jersey girl at 6 furlongs for Chocolate Gelato. It should set her up really well for the Alabama. I don't think it's unreasonable to suggest she's in this race to ensure a quick pace. And I applaud them for doing it because more people should use rabbits to set paces. So in this race, and I'm not convinced the Gambling Girl is that good because her one good race is the Oaks. All the others are just sort of okay. But in the Oaks, she got a fast contested pace. She sat well back and made one run, and she beat Wet Paint. And Wet Paint's 2-1 morning line. She's 8-1 morning line, and she's going to get a fast pace. And maybe she just badly needed her last race. Is that unfair?
Gambling Girl? No, it's not unfair at all. I think Gambling Girl is worth consideration, but I think down deep, when Wet Paint and Gambling Girl are near one another again, Wet Paint will beat her again.
Well, Gambling Girl beat her the only time they met, except for they're one and one against each other. So once again, I'd say there's a flaw in that argument.
Maybe
but
2-1.
Listen,
Yeah.
I don't love her. I just think today is the race that I want her. Defining Purpose, and we'll show her in Julia Shining. To me, while Defining Purpose is a nice horse, the two races she's won, the Indiana Oaks and the Ashland, she stalked hopeless long shots in slow paces. And this race is obviously going to feature more quality and a faster pace. And while she's a nice horse, I think she's benefited from good trips. I like Julia Shining as a horse, though she's been a disappointment, and it's more about her pedigree being a Fulda Malathot. Frank, this is one tough ask to come in this race off 4.5 months going 10 furlongs against this field.
Well,
She's probably never be good enough anyway.
you're in the right hands. I think you have to look at, when you look at these situations, you have to consider who's trying to accomplish this, and you're talking about Todd Pletcher, so he knows how to do it. You saw what he did with
does.
Nest.
He's won mile and quarter races off 4.5 month layoffs.
I didn't look at Formulator to see if
I'd say he's never done it. I mean,
he brought Nest back, and Nest.
But Nest had run in the Belmont Stakes. She came back a month later.
I'm just saying, Nest was
But
very
this is
strong.
a huge ask because she's going to have to run better than she's ever run before of a 4.5 month layoff at 10 furlongs. And she's 5-1 morning line. If she was 20-1 morning line, I wouldn't object to her. But doesn't she feel like a horse that's catchy because of her pedigree, but she doesn't display it on the racetrack, and it's a huge ask?
Well, she's run 4 times, and she's never been out of the money. I don't think she's some big disappointment. She's only been favored in 2 races, and she won them both.
Okay,
And
we'll agree to disagree on
I'm not
her.
saying, look, I would not be surprised if she won. I picked her 3rd.
I would.
What about my second pick?
I
Can we talk
was just going to get to her. Why don't you talk about her?
I like her.
Okay.
Fireline.
Why?
Fireline was awesome when she broke her maiden in career start number 2. Throw out the slop, came right back and won again, and then last time out went to Delaware, and it was
Stuck.
it was terrible. But I just think
It was a
that's-
merry-go-round rate, to be fair, on track favorable to speed.
and not only that, sometimes when you go to a new surrounding situation, you can excuse. It happens at Monmouth. It happens at Delaware. Some of these mid-Atlantic tracks, you go there and you just lay an egg, and she did. And as a result, you're going to get incredible connections at a huge price at every level. The horse, the
look,
pedigree,
David
the
Aragona
trainer,
likes his
and the
horse
jockey.
too, and another good friend of mine likes his horse as well. I respect his opinion. I respect their opinions. I respect yours. I haven't seen it, but I respect that because I think it is an open race. And let's be honest, her figure in her return race in May 18th is 1 point below the figure that was run by Wet Paint last time. It was going to be 2-1 in here. Now, Wet Paint obviously has a much better resume, but as you say, it's good connections, and Chad's running her in here. Let's talk about Taxed. Taxed was second last time. I think we'll watch her winning the Black-Eyed Susan. But I don't think she had a tough trip in the Indiana Oaks, but I think Defining Purpose had a better trip.
Okay.
So I prefer her to Defining Purpose. she's got a fast fig. I mean, the Black-Eyed Susan fig, believe it or not, is the third fastest. There's a 97, 292s, and the 90. So from a buyer standpoint, her Black-Eyed Susan figure makes her one of the big players in here.
And it looked like Hoosier Philly was long gone in that race.
She ran her down.
And she ran her down and pulled away from her very nicely. She's honest and consistent and has proven to be an outstanding claim for $50,000.
So the interesting horse in here is Randomized.
Is who?
Randomized. Because Randomized is tied for the second fastest buyer fig and easily has the fastest buyer fig in this race. And she has never run against this caliber. Well, she ran the Acorn. But in the Acorn, they raid her behind horses. She's not taking dirt. Now, she did draw well on the outside. She'll probably have to chalk Chocolate Gelato in this race. And depending on how the pace goes, because she is a horse that needs to be forward in the clear. But I don't think you should just completely dismiss the fact that she is a very talented horse. Whether or not she's able to show her talents in this race remains to be seen. But I think there's a possibility that she's just the best horse in this race.
She ran very, very well. I mean, that was the showdown of two stablemates, and the Juddmonte horse didn't run a hoof. But I don't care if that Juddmonte horse would have fired that day. Randomized was outstanding throughout. It was over early in that race.
She's fast
the
and she's
margin
good.
is deceptive. She buried that field.
Yeah, I don't want to be completely dismissive of her. I don't know what she's going to do against this crowd at a mile and a quarter. I can't wait for this race.
It's a great race.
This is a great running of a great race. And, you know, people say Kentucky Oaks is the #1 race for 3-year-old fillies. It's not. It's the Alabama, which has been around 100 years more. I'm sorry, the Alabama presented by Keelan Sales.
Thank you for that.
Race number 10. Frank and I agree in race number 10 on the number 2 Napoleonic War. Now, Napoleonic War did lose last time to Whisper Not, but Frank, either Napoleonic War ran the better race. She was the one that made the earlier move. They were both wide. She was a bit wider. The other horse sort of pulled herself into the race, and I'm not knocking Whisper Not's race. She ran well, but I thought Napoleonic War ran better, especially off a layoff.
Yes, and the thing about it is, in that race, it's the same situation that that we talk about with the, you know, having an opportunity with a race under the belt. It always helps. There's more upside, typically speaking, when you're making your second start off a long layoff. We talked about that in a different race moments ago. And in this race, Napoleonic War, you know, he made a very nice move, and then he flattened out. That's what happened.
But also, he had to move early into the race in a quick pace that collapsed to get position from the outside post. Now he gets post 2. Now, I know Whisper Not an outside post 2, but he's a different running style. And pace heated up. And I think Napoleonic War, he did all that work early, too, as well.
And he gets the blinkers on now, so maybe when Flavien talked to...
Storm the Court, this is a West Coast thing? You're just representing?
No, we was actually, when I was with the longtime and very talented turf rider Gary West and Dave Rodman, and we walked by to see Mr. Amos. We had just missed him at his barn.
I'm sorry.
And his assistant told us how excited they were to have Storm the Court and that he's doing very well.
He's a little pace compromised here, isn't he? He's pretty quick, and there's some fast horses in here like Call Me Harry.
Yeah, well, he might be able to sit right off the pace, and I think that Storm the Court, you know, what's interesting is he has never won since winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
It's because he's just okay.
Right,
He's never won the turf either.
They tried him to the turf. And
Whisper Not, I thought, was very dangerous. No Whisper Nots anywhere for you?
I like Whisper Not. He's a nice horse. He's certainly got a chance. This is a race. If you're spreading, the next one to go
running with scissors at a mile and 16
There's something about him. You know what it is? He fooled me a little last time in that race at 5.5 furlongs because when he made that move, I thought he was a winner for sure, and then Yarrow drew away from him again. I just liked the way he took to the course. He has won 13 races, claimed by Joe Sharp. Joe Sharp's horses, you know, when they fire, you got to watch out. He's dangerous.
I don't see him getting a mile against this group. We'll agree to disagree. We'll take a look at Verbal's last race. Yeah, Verbal was impeded late, and that's why Chase Crown was disqualified. But frankly, he wasn't winning this race. I thought he got an unbelievably great ride from Irad Ortiz in this race. I mean, an absolutely picture-perfect ride by Irad, and had no excuse not to win. I'm a little sick and tired of Verbal, frankly. I mean, you don't have him anywhere. He's the 5-2 favorite. I respect the Chad Brown horses, but frankly, this horse has just made a career kind of disappointing. Now, Easter did come back and run well in a paceless race his next start. He might just be better than him. But, I mean, was he really accelerating? He was legitimately interfered late, but that horse had already gone by him when he got interfered with.
He wasn't winning at 5-2 last time up.
We'll go on to race number 11. Race number 11 has a very interesting horse in it. We'll take a look at Henson, who's going to be, I imagine, a prohibitive favorite off the turf in here. So this horse comes in here as a good thing at 25-1 from Finger Lakes. Gets a gold rail, but battles the whole way and runs remarkably well. Russi, for what it's worth, did not come back and run that well in an off-the-turf race here. Was second or third, I think, but well beaten in a soft spot. Now, in this field, this is going to be an overwhelming favorite. I believe he was purchased for $60,000 after that race.
That's what I want to know.
How is he running for $40,000? He ran well enough in a maiden special weight, off the turf or not. And he shows up in a turf race for 40. Isn't this weird?
The whole thing was strange, but the most important information, now that this race is transferred to the main track, this horse certainly figures much more so than he did before. But what I was wondering
it's Verrazano.
Is how much could they, because this is a Madaket Stables and Partners
60.
buying in. Right,
Blue Paid Special, you have time. We're going to run out of time. I'm sorry, I don't mean to rush.
Well, but I'm just trying to say is that it's very important to know, because I thought maybe they even spent more. Like, I didn't understand how this thing gets privately purchased and comes in for 40.
Blue Plate Special. I hear you.
Yeah. I picked this horse on top.
Yeah, I'm asking you why.
Because I think Henson's going to be 1-2, and I think Blue Plate Special, getting claimed last time out, has been claimed both times he's available, was beaten 2 lengths there, and had some, it was a contentious race all the way around. There's no reason this horse can't come back and beat this very suspect group moving to the main track.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with Blue Plate Special. I have him third. I don't love his races. He does have that fast fig in his second start in a muddy sealed track. I'm very interested in Kern River in this race, and I was glad this race came off to bet him. He ran an absolute killer field first time out in the turf and was pressing Freud Meehan, who's good and really good. At least he pressed that horse. And I know they tried the turf, but I wonder if he's really a dirt horse, this horse. And I'm glad he got back to the surface. So I like Kern River in this race over Henson and your horse, the 14. I thought they were the 3. Frank, thank you so much. Sorry to rush to the end, but we're out of time. Head on up to Naira Bets. If you're not a member, use the promo code SPA200 and we'll match the $200 of your initial deposit. 3 pick 4s, races 2, 5, and 8 on today's card. We also have 3 pick 5s. Pick 5s are races 1, 4, and 7 on today's card. We have the $1 million bonus. Must play that late pick 5 through Naira Bets. If you're the only one that hits it, and you got to just do it, even long a shot as it may be, $1 million, a free million would be a good thing. Don't pass up on it. Play it through Naira Bets. We also have the Taste of New York Pavilion, located near Gate A in the Berkshire Bank Family Zone, Thursdays through Sundays. Check it out. We have the show. We are on from 1 to 3 and 6 to 7 on FS2. We're also on Big Fox, covering the Alabama, the Lake Placid, and other races as well on Big Fox. Frank, thank you so much for filling in the last couple of days. And the good news, Frank Miramati is not going anywhere. He's up next for the reprise, the scratches and changes. But the good news is he won't be doing it on camera. Have a great day.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask that you please rise and remove your hats as John Rodier of Rensselaer, New York, performs our national anthem on Alabama Day at the Spa.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I'm ready. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Saratoga Racecourse. The track is fast, the turf course rated as good. Races 3, 7, and 10 remain on the turf. The others have been moved to the main track. First race, early pick 5, scratch number 8, Gypsy Mischief. Race 1, scratch number 8. In the second race, off the turf, 1 mile on the main track, scratch number 4, Buffoon. Scratch number 6, Wally World. That's a new scratch. Race 2, scratch number 6, Wally World, who's now out. Number 9, Dangerous Driver, is 1 pound over. And number 9 should be listed as a gelding. Scratch 12, 13, 14, and 15 as well. 12, 13, 14, and 15 are out of the second race with that new scratch of number 6. Race 3, scratch number 5, Golden Dagger. Scratch 9, 10, and 11, the also eligibles. 5, 9, 10, and 11 out of race 3. The fourth race, we have a pick 5, and it will have a mandatory payout. Scratch number 4, Winning Drive. Scratch number 10, No More Talk. Note that number 11, Great Workout, is 1 pound over. Turning to the fifth, scratch 4, Tivy, and scratch number 6, Letty. Scratch numbers 4 and 6 out of the fifth. Pick 6 starts with race 6 today. It's a $1 wager. Off the turf, 1 mile on the main track. Scratch 1, Miss Barb. Scratch 2, Out of the Cloud. Scratch 6, Samaritan's Purse. Scratch 8, Stone of Destiny. Scratch 10, Let Me Drink. Scratch 11, Arasema. Scratch 12, So Are You. And scratch 13, Bella Sonadora. Out of race number 6, scratch the following: 1, 2, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, and 13. The seventh is the grade 2 Lake Placid. Scratch the also eligibles 9 and 10. Late pick 5 starts with race 7. The late pick 4 begins with the 8th. In the 8th, scratch number 1, Movie Moxie. Scratch number 2, Battle Bling. 1 and 2 out of the 8th. The 9th race today is our featured event. It's the Alabama, presented by Keeneland Sales. No changes. In the 10th race, scratch number 10, Rinaldi. 11, Magnolia Midnight. 12, Accretive. And 13, Tonal Impact. Scratch 10, 11, 12, and 13. And in the 11th race, which is off the turf, scratch number 1, Ripe for Mischief. Note that number 1A, Petrolo, is 1 pound over. Number 5, Okaloosa, make the job